Hello, boys and girls. Today I want to tell you a story.
So, this is a radio station. I know it doesn't sound like it, but this is radio. Yesterday I realized that you are a history buff, and this radio station is quite important in the history of Portugal because back in '74, when the revolution occurred that took down the dictatorship, this was the radio where the secret signs were broadcast. So this is just a mythical place, and I know you love Portuguese history. I
love it. I've become obsessed. I've got 3 more copies of my favorite Portuguese history book I'm bringing back to London today.
Yeah. When did it start, that love for Portuguese? Now when we were making Don Quixote? Or?
I think it was the beginning when I first came down here, when the idea of shooting in Portugal, and I was in a bookstore, and I saw this book, and it says, the first global village. And I thought, that's interesting. And it's not too thick, so I think I could handle that. And it was in English, which made it even easier.
Did it have pictures? No.
It's not too many pictures. I've got a few in there.
Okay.
So, and I started reading it, and I thought, it's written by an English journalist who lives here in Lisbon. And I just thought, wow, this is amazing, because the history of Portugal just seems to be forgotten in the rest of Europe. Portugal is this little country still on the edge of Europe, but not unlike England, which has left Europe.
Some people in foreign countries think that we are part of Spain.
I know.
These days, yes.
I know. And that's what I was intrigued, how different Portugal is from Spain.
Yes.
Spain was religious fanatics over there. Portugal was smart businessmen. Very pragmatic people. You had very good kings, João, and 1 and 2, and I love the fact when the Inquisition occurred in Spain and the Jews, the Moriscos, were thrown out, they came to Portugal, and he then took the best of them and created a council of wise men.
Yeah.
This is so smart. And the fact you didn't waste your time being conquistadores. You would go and trade with people around the world, and you managed to get all over the world long before Columbus even left.
Yes. So you are making Portugal really sexy, and I thank you for that.
I was born by the special will of heaven to restore the lost age of chivalry. I am Don Quixote de la Mancha.
And cut right there. Good work.
Let's talk a bit about the man who killed Don Quixote. I know you are tired of talking about the movie. But it's such a fascinating story. Did you feel any pressure when you were doing this last and final and definitive version, since everyone was waiting for the movie for so long, or you just felt joy to make it and relief in a way?
I was very aware that the history of the film was this weight on my shoulders. Because when people have more and more higher expectations, the longer it went on, the more the expectations rose. And I knew this was going to be a disaster. And then I was happy to read the reviews, which would do things, they would tell the story of the 30 years, blah, blah, blah. And then they ask at the end, last question, was it worth 30 years? And the answer, is going to be no, always. So that is the thing that it irritated. It's a film, and the film changed in the course of it. So it wasn't like it got better the longer the delay was. Not at all. We just had to keep rewriting it to entertain ourselves, so I could at least convince myself I'm doing a new film each time I'm doing it. That's all.
Yeah.
Javier?
Sancho?
You crazy peasant. You think you can hide from me?
We shall have such great adventures together.
But you got a standing ovation that I know that you don't really know if it was a standing ovation for the movie or for the, okay, he did it. Well, I like to think it was for the movie.
That's what bothered me. It's a very long, somebody said it was 20 minutes long. I don't believe it felt like an hour long. Because it's embarrassing.
What do you do when a standing ovation like that happens? It's like when people are singing happy birthday and you don't know what face to make.
Well, it got very funny because I'd get up and say thank you, and I'd bow, and then I would start waving, and then people over there, oh, thank you, one more, and it got sillier and sillier. And I thought, this is never going to end. And I still don't know, and that's my problem. Was it for the quality of the film or just for my perseverance that I'd survived that long? I don't know.
Okay, the film is great, and I thank you for making it and finally keeping your vision. One of the most inspiring things about you, for me, it's the way you fight for your vision and don't compromise. Do you think that in your already long career, was there any time where you thought, okay, I'm going to do just a little bit of what the money men tell me to do, or that's really out of the question? Did you find money men with good ideas?
No.
Okay.
And nor do I find studio executives with good ideas, because once they're involved, there are people who are frightened. They're nervous because there's money involved. They don't want to lose the money. A studio executive doesn't want to say this is going to be a great film and then get blamed for it failing. So they're living in fear the whole time. And I don't like taking advice from frightened people. I like people to be confident. And now, I'm not really all that confident, but I do know the mistakes I made are more interesting than the mistakes they would have made.
Yes.
And it's simple as that. So I surround myself with a lot of people whose opinions I trust, who are honest with me. So, we argue about this. This could be better, that isn't working. It's a constant argument until the film is finished.
I have lots of favorite Terry Gilliam stories, and this is one of my favorite books. The other one is the book, I think it's my self-help book, The Battle of Brazil, which is really inspiring. But I have two favorite stories. One of them is when you did Time Bandits, which is a movie I really love. George Harrison, he inserted some messages for you in the theme song. What happened?
It was very funny. When we started that film, our manager, which was George's manager and then became Python's manager, thought it was going to be a movie like Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs and full of lots of George Harrison songs. And I didn't agree with that. So they weren't there. But George then wrote this song for the end. And it was only some time after it had been on the film that it was pointed out, have you listened to those lyrics carefully? And it was George's notes to me about what he felt had been like about the film, and it's things like about taking too long, about my arrogance. It's all in there. It's very funny. And I thought, that's so wonderful. George is such a clever man. He would never confront me, but he got his notes in about what he felt about the movie.
And it's such a beautiful song, and it's such a beautiful way of telling you. So you kept good friends after that.
Oh, very much, yeah.
Yes.
Stumble you may with your mentoring. Lucky you got so far, all you owe is apologies.
The other favorite Gilliam story is the way that you, I like to think, almost did a Harry Potter movie. So tell me about that. Okay, J.K. Rowling wanted to have you making the first Harry Potter movie, and reading the books. I think that's Gilliam-esque material. You could have a new Time Bandits with that.
Well, what happened? I know she wanted me. The producer wanted me, and they flew me out to Los Angeles, first class out to Los Angeles. Now I was still trying to make Quixote then, so I went because I could do business about Quixote there with everything paid for. Great. So I read the script on the way there, and I realized, well, she's seen Time Bandits. She's been a fan of Monty Python. It's all there. This is easy. No problem. I know how to do this. And I get there, and it's a meeting with the big boss and several younger executives. And And I just knew I'm not going to get the job. I know that. And
did you know that as soon as you entered the room?
Well, even before.
Just the vibe?
While I was on the plane, I'm not going to get this job because they want to control the thing. And we're sitting there, and I'm explaining to them why they can't do what they're thinking of doing. They want to do 2 Harry Potter films back to back. And I said, well, how am I going to shoot the second one if I'm in the editing room doing the first one? Well, why are you in the editing room? I said, because I edit my movies, that's why. And it went on and on. And I thought as we were talking, I get excited when I start talking about something. And suddenly I was describing certain scenes, what I was doing, and I could see the younger executives getting really excited. But the big boss was falling asleep. It's doomed. And that was it. And I'll remember what I did do. I got out of that, and I had a car, and I drove around Mulholland Drive really angry at myself for getting excited about the idea of doing the film, because I knew I was never going to be allowed to do the film. So that was it.
But that's beautiful, because you seem to maintain a kind of a childish innocence when you were excited, because part of your brain was saying, okay, this is not going to happen, but there's an optimism in you, right? Still.
Yes, there still is. That's the foolish part of me. That having been through so much stuff, I still think the impossible is possible.
Yeah.
I never grew up, is the problem.
That's beautiful. Me neither.
Always look on the bright side of life.
I'm very curious about your next project, because I know you are already writing it. But yesterday, when we had dinner, you were saying, "No, I'm done in Hollywood. They're never gonna give me the money to do it." So I posted a photo of our dinner in Instagram, and suddenly I told you that you were a fan of Ryan Reynolds, right? And that Ryan Reynolds could be a ticket for you to do your next movie. And my Instagram followers started tagging Ryan Reynolds and saying, "Please, Ryan, contact Terry Gilliam." So if it happens,
I owe you a lot.
Yes. I want an executive producer credit in the movie. So, but tell me about this next project, and if your optimism is thinking that it will happen.
It's very strange. For the last couple of years, I've been getting more and more depressed. I don't like the way the world is going, or certain ways of thinking about the world is going. And I also more and more aware that how difficult it will be for me to get money for the next film, because the last several have not made money, and you have to keep making money to get money. So I was very depressed. But then I went to Italy, because I have a little film festival in Italy, and I had to go for the week of the festival, and the government changed the rules just as I arrived, and I had to then self-isolate for 5 days. And so I'm in my little house in Italy with nobody to talk to, no wife, no family, no internet. And I just started thinking. And what's interesting, by being isolated like that, I was able to convince myself that I still had a few ideas worth making films about. And it was, for several days, I was getting up in the morning excited, because another big, and I'm writing this thing. Now the problem is, I started be in a state of rage about all the things I don't like is going on at the moment. And so the idea was basically that God has decided to wipe out humanity because of the mess they've made to his garden. This garden called Earth, this beautiful place. Because it is the thing that concerns me most, really, is what we've done and how we fix what we've done to this planet. And God, basically, when you're alone, you can be God. This is the thing. So I was God. And
I think you are God. I told you yesterday. It was an epiphany.
Every sperm is sacred. Every sperm is great.
It's a very interesting premise. God has decided he's going to wipe out humanity, which he does. And the person who tries to stop it is Satan. Because Satan needs humanity. Because his job is to tempt and seduce him. And he's the one that has to try to convince God that, okay, wipe them out, but let me provide a new Adam and Eve to start again. And maybe this time it'll work better, is what it's about.
This seems Absolutely perfect. And I know you are also working on a Time Bandits adaptation for
or
a
not
TV show.
working on it,
or
as
not
the case
working.
may
But
be.
I know you've been having some nice Zoom meetings. Will it happen? Do you think? Yeah.
I think it is. Apple TV has said they've greenlit the project, and Taika Waititi is directing it, which I thought was a good idea because I like what he does. He's very
Yes, I
smart.
think he's almost a kind of a successor to you. He has that spirit. And
Well, Jojo Rabbit I loved. I thought there was such a sweetness in it. Also, it's about something serious. So the mixture of serious and sweet, funny was perfect. But he seems to have signed up for every other movie they're making in
everywhere,
Hollywood.
yeah.
Even with Ryan Reynolds in Free. So I don't
he could be the link between you and Ryan Reynolds, not me. So please use that.
So I've got a meeting when I get back tomorrow to see where we're going, what's happening. My official title is non-writing executive producer, which means I don't know what that means.
Okay. So just to finish, we are in a radio station, and I have much less money than you to make movies, so I do just like audio movies. I love doing sketches on radio and little comic soap operas and working with sounds. What is radio in your life? Do you like this medium? Did you grow up with it?
I don't know.
I think it's a visual medium.
Yeah, I mean, radio. When I was a child, we had no television. I grew up with books and radio, and I really was convinced radio is what gave me my visual imagination, because you have to do all the work. You've got to put the faces on people. You've got to put their clothes on, the sets, because all you've got is voices and sound effects. Yeah. And I think it's great. I find television weakens your visual sense because it does all the work for you. You don't have to do any work. You just sit back in your sofa and fall asleep. I love radio. I mean, my plan was always, when I can't get money to do movies, I would just go back and be a cartoonist, a piece of paper and a pen. And
I can't wait for a Terry Gilliam book of cartoons. I think you should do one of those.
Well, what I really want to do is, the only drawings I do these days is birthday cards for my family, Valentine's cards, all of that stuff. So I've got a whole collection. In fact, also, I was on the phone just before I got here with my daughter, because I'm doing a book of my storyboards.
That's beautiful. Okay, Terry, it was really nice to meet you. It was one of the biggest days in my life, yesterday and today. Just maybe the day my son was born was a bit...
really?
Yeah, better than these.
Oh, God, that's a bit disappointing. I think I'm leaving now. Thank you very much.
I'm sorry, Terry. but this was amazing to know you. And you are really, truly an inspiration for me, and I thank you for that.
And I'm so happy that I can speak Portuguese so well that everybody can understand me on radio, Portuguese radio.
Don't worry about that. I'll translate it later. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Great.
Thank you.
Suddenly, the animator suffered a fatal heart attack. The cartoon peril was no more. The quest for the Holy Grail could continue.